Um, I've talked before about how I don't want my videos to uh, fall into this netherland of finding content from other creators and then attacking it. I don't want to do that, and I think that's kind of unimaginative, if you will. But I've got to say, I found a video that has to be spoken on. So I watched Team House. They bring on special forces people here and there, and like Navy SEAL stuff, Delta Force people that are known, all kind of stuff. And I went all the way down to the earliest videos. They talking about Trump and stuff, and the video is a great example of an echo room on the right, and of how I don't want to make it about just white people, but about privileged white men talking how uh, that there's a blindness there and there's a joy in that. Um, so they started talking about, they were talking about Greta Thunberg, her speech she did years ago. And they don't really speak on her speech as much as, I guess they tried to make it out that this is the left attacking people. And I've talked about it before. That's why the left shouldn't do that. That's why, and Michael Brooks he was so, on about this point that when you're beating people up about plastic straws and trips to Hawaii, that people will take it as, this is something personal. People will take it as a personal affront, which is not. Climate change to me, pollution, all this is about corporate power, corporate issues, and is the government beholden to corporate interests? That's my point. That's always been my point, and that's why I stand. I don't think what the average human being on Earth does. I don't think it really means anything unless you're a billionaire. I think it means nothing. But even if you believe that, they didn't go into the issues. It was all about attacking Greta Thunberg. And then they went into talking about, um, you know, uh, we had acid rain back in the day because of all the petrochemicals in the clouds. And then they were talking about the holes in the ozone. And I'm listening, I'm like, all of that's real. Like that, the Montreal Protocol, like that stuff was proven. You really believe all these countries came together at the UN for nothing? They just came together for nothing? This is an opinion that you had, chemicals in the refrigerator, chemicals in hairspray that were opening up the ozone layer. And you're really doing a video making fun of that? That's scientifically proven. And then they go into talking about it's all they try to make it they try to make it about the right and the left, but it's all an attack piece on the left. And the guy's talking about how the left, they scream about the end is nigh, the end is nigh, and they were making fun of people about COVID and all that. Um, and how, like you're basically trying to make them feel bad, make white people feel bad. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, dude, evangelical Christianity's been doing that longer than anybody. They've been talking about. I remember when I was in school, I went to Christian school. They had a picture of a guy holding up a sign saying the end is not back in the 70s. I was being forced to watch movies on the Rapture back in the 2000s. They're like, is this really where you guys want to go with this? You really want to talk about elements in society who have pushed the doomsday stuff? That's conservatism. That's Christianity more than anything. They're talking about global cooling, global warming, making fun of, I guess, the Arctic's melting while the Antarctica's, well, they're making fun, and I'm just like, you guys realize when police investigate crimes, sometimes they get it wrong in the beginning, right? Sometimes they'll investigate a murder and find out there were cops involved or there were people in politics involved. I was watching something about, CMPD was investigating Patrick Cannon, the mayor, back in, I think it was 14. And they were talking about how they were looking at some drug stuff and they found out it was public officials involved. And the way they knew it was because they were going to hit something. And Internal Affairs told them from on high, like, get away from that. That's how they knew it was dirty. So this wasn't about the original thing. This is about public integrity, right? It doesn't mean you throw the whole case away because it changes. Our understanding of the climate, our understanding of, you know, things like that has changed over the years. You're not going to get me to believe it's false because we've understood differently. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about asbestos. Let's talk about DDT. Let's talk about letting kids smoke as young as 5 back in the day. Let's talk about putting cocaine in BC powder. Let's talk about leaded gasoline. You won't do that. Over the years, we've made many mistakes. Corporations have hid things, the Chevron documents. That happens. That doesn't mean that what people say today is automatically a lie because we were wrong 30 years ago or 40 years ago. I mean, this is like a bunch of conservatives just jacking each other off in the corner. Like, this is nonsense. So they start talking about, liberals getting in their face. And I made a comment. I'm like, if you want to reduce all of liberalism to idiots, I can pretty much put Trumpism to deplorables. I know everyone supports Trump is not a racist or a dumbass, but I can show you plenty of examples of people who are. And I know that. Stay on subject. So you're talking about how, like, people making fun of people saying like racism's worse now than ever. I think this is the George Floyd stuff. And I said on that, I said, it's amazing how badly this aged because, since that video, you had January the 6th. Because they were talking about, like, Trump and how people are like, this is the worst time ever. And dude was like, well, you know what? He said, well, turn off social media. Get off social media. And it's funny because as soon as I heard that, my mind went to privilege. Because the one thing I've learned post-Trump, and this is with January the 6th, and this is with the supermarket massacre in Buffalo, New York. They killed 10 black people by a white man. The Kroger shooting in Kentucky, where guys shot down 2 black people in supermarkets, started going to black church. Dylan Roof back in the day, where they killed those black people in that church. The one thing I've learned as a black man is you must be engaged. You cannot afford to be disengaged. I agree with them. Living on social media is weird. I go on Instagram, for entertainment. I don't live on, I don't even go on Facebook anymore. I don't care about any of that stuff. But for a black man in today's world, you cannot afford to be engaged. Because the one thing we've learned with this Roe versus Wade, the leaks, the Supreme Court leaks, and the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, and the book bans, is that black man, all of this stuff can be erased tomorrow. Nothing should be taken for granted. Nothing. All this. And I don't care if you don't care about gay marriage. I don't care if you don't care about the immigrants. I don't care if you don't care about hate crime law and black people. I don't care if you don't care about any of that stuff. The point is, these conservatives are rolling back the clock. That was the danger with Trump. He's rolling back the clock. Black people do not have the privilege. See, white people, he's talking to white men. I get it. They were trying to build their little thing. It was like video 10. They were trying to build their little thing of like right-wing shit of like patting white people on the head and saying, things aren't that bad, because look at other countries, how bad it is, how badly they are. We're not that bad. That's what that was. But the one thing I've learned, the Pulse shooting years ago, 2015, 2016, I think, where they killed them gay people, the one thing I've learned is that all this can be erased tomorrow. Take nothing for granted. Take nothing for granted. You do not have the privilege to be disengaged. You do not have the privilege to bury your head in the sand. You do not have the privilege to do any of that stuff. You must be engaged. You must be engaged. And I know there's black folks that don't want to. That's fine. That's because you're watching Law and Order Backlash, And sometimes I think these guys talk like this, knowing that what they're saying are lies. They know they're telling lies. And it's kind of a way, it's white splaining. It's a way of justifying how you treat black people. And it's a way of justifying like harm that you and everybody else see. And you're finding little ways of like, well, it isn't that bad because this guy was a criminal. George Floyd was a druggie, so he deserved to be murdered. Like I think sometimes white people, like, it is like a justification thing of like, this is bad, but we don't really care about this. Um, because these guys, they never went into any of the issues they discussed. I'm willing to have the discussion. None of them went into it. It was all knocking the left, while at the same time, oh yeah, this isn't the right or the left. Look. Like the dude was like, he was like, this isn't like the right or the left. And then he went right back into talking points the right uses against the left. Talking about climate change, talking about how you don't get to tell me stuff over and over and over. And I'm like, dude, evangelical Christianity, they had like a documentary where they had Obama as the Antichrist. Like they were saying Obama's wife was a tranny and he was gay. I remember this shit. You white people are not gonna get away. You're not gonna get me to forget how bad it was. How the hell they put Obama through. You are not gonna sit here with this bullshit and make me believe that everybody welcome Obama and that no. He went through hell. And I bet there was a lot more death threats he got than they didn't talk about. Because when you get to them type of offices, you can't be weak. You have to like accept that. You have to accept as a black man that people are going to want a gun for you, but you can't like hide away because then you can't get anything done. You can't. You're that's weakness. So some of the bad stuff out, some of the death threats, you don't talk about. You keep it quiet because you've got to achieve your mission in the short period of time. Because if you turtle in, you're wasting time. And that's the point of some of these people. It's to scare you. It's to get you to bunker down and hide. But I guess you're not gonna get me to believe that any of that stuff. This was uh this was nonsense. And like I said, it was just watching that video. Just was a wake up call that uh, while they're telling us to not care, to not be informed, to not be aware, to not be awoke, to not watch in prayer, as the old folks say. Um, as 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 they're telling us to do that, things are falling apart. And let me say this: um, I didn't know anybody who believed that COVID was the end of the world. Um, I think this is a couple of bumpkins that tried to take the worst elements of the left, the hysterical left, as I call it, and run with it. These guys, uh, I didn't know anybody who said COVID was the end of the world at any point. I think, and I might do a video on this. I think that COVID was the beginning of like a darker era of America. And I think one day books will be written on this, that you had like 30, 40, 50 years of peace relatively in America. And I'm talking about, the Clintons. I'm talking about, not George Bush, but, other than Iraq and Afghanistan, you had George Bush and you had Obama. And you didn't really have any major pandemics in that time. You didn't have any real major threats to America at that time because, Iraq, Afghanistan aren't going to invade America. Those were targets. Those were, whatever. Obama did everything he could to not start war with Russia. We now know that there were generals that were crying out for, I think one of them was on TV talking about we need to start filling Russian body bags. That guy was retired. It's Air Force General. It's to me, it's like we had this era of peace, but for Obama, it was kind of like Obama was buying time. I don't blame him. He's buying time with Putin. And now with Ukraine, monkeypox and COVID's coming back, I think you're in a darker era because uh, the political balkanization, as well as the fact that you're not going to be able to shut the country down. Like it's like playing a video game and you don't have enough money to buy a weapon. Like that particular tool of being able to galvanize the masses for a public effort is that's gone. That's grayed out. And that's what to me is the most terrifying thing about this era is just that there's a large percentage of the country that's not going to cooperate, and there's a pride in that. There's a pride in mockery of science. These guys, as much as they wanted to, love on Trump, why don't they talk about Trump wasting two months on COVID? I never heard conservatives talk about that. He wasted 2 months on COVID. I don't get it. If you wanna attack the left, if you wanna attack us, you can dislike us, but do it with knowledge. Instead you want to talk about global warming versus global cooling, and from what I understand, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening.